doubly reinforced beam and the flanged beams. Let us continue further. Now this is all pertaining to the beams. I would like to take up the different terms which are being used in the general design, whatever we are designing in the for the structures. Now we are led upon with two situations in a frame structure. Whenever we have a frame structure, we can have obviously only two situations. One is analysis, second one is design. Now what is analysis? In analysis, the capability of the structural member, either one member or the full structure itself, is found out, is carried out, the analysis is carried out to find out the capability of the structural member, maybe a beam, maybe just a particular column, or maybe a particular slab. So in analysis, the capability of a member is calculated, or it can be the whole structure, it can be the full frame, it can be a part of a frame. The capability analysis is done to find out whether it can resist the external acting loads, whatever loads are supposed to act on it, whether it is capable of taking those loads and their effects. So the capability is checked. We are trying to find out whether it is capable of taking the load. Why do we conduct the analysis? Many times the analysis is conducted in order to find out, in order to see whether the particular frame or a particular member will be able to take the loads. Suppose it happens something like this. The use of the floor has changed. It was a residential building, but I want to use it for commercial purpose. Say I want to use a residential building, say a first floor of a building, as a school. I want to use a particular floor as a classroom. So obviously when we say a classroom, the live load coming on the floor would be different. The live load would be increased. The live load, or rather the imposed loads, for a residential building would be much lower as compared to the classroom. So when that happens, we need to check whether the particular slab or whether the particular floor will be able to take that load, whether it will be able to resist the loads satisfactorily without cracking, without collapsing, without undergoing deflection. So all this is checked in analysis, its capability. It is not only the slab, it can be the slab along with the beams, along with the columns and the foundations. We should not forget the foundations. So considering all the external loads which are acting or supposed to act on a structure, if we are trying to understand or get the capability of the structure, then it is analysis. The second situation is design. Now in design, the plans are made ready and we are supposed to give a new member or a new structure its shape. We are supposed to define what would be the type of concrete which would be going in that, what would be the type of steel going in that, and the amount of steel going in that. So giving it a shape, giving it the proportions of concrete, the type of concrete, the type of steel, and the amount of steel. How much steel would be provided, where it would be provided. Now this comprises of the design. So we are led up to two different situations. One is analysis, second one is design. A structural engineer is supposed to know both. A structural engineer should be conversant with both. You should be knowing from an existing structure to find its capability, and exactly the reverse problem is the capability of the structure, how much it should be is given to be. I need to create a structure. To create a structure, what we do is we create a design. So coming to the basic terms, whenever we are trying to design a particular structure, the basic terms go like this. The first term is nominal cover. Now nominal cover is the clear cover provided to the reinforcement. Now that's the reinforcement which we have over here, if you can see, and the yellow one over here which you see is the formwork, and then over here is my cover block. You can see that the reinforcement, the dark color one, the reinforcement which is in the shadow, is sitting over the cover block. That's the cover block. If you observe, it's having a nice hole over here through which the binding wire will be passing and the reinforcement will be tied, so that whenever there is concreting done, whenever there will be people walking, the cover block will not topple over, it will not overturn and fall over. So there is a hole given over there. Binding wire needs to be tied to the concrete cover block, this particular cover block, and the reinforcement, so that it remains in place. Now the clear cover provided between, now that's going to be the concrete surface where the formwork is. So clear cover provided between the concrete surface and the structural member on the outside of it, and the structural reinforcement on the outside of it. Okay, so from the bottommost portion to the outside portion over here, this distance we are talking about is the nominal cover. It is also known as clear cover, the cover clear of the reinforcement. So clear cover is the distance from here, the bottom of this reinforcement, to the bottom over here, to the cover, bottom of the cover. So that portion is going to be the concrete portion below the reinforcement. The reinforcement is going to be embedded in concrete, it is going to be within the concrete, and whatever may be the cover over here, that cover will protect this reinforcement from the outside environment. So this cover over here is the distance between this formwork placed over here, where we would be getting the extremmost fiber of the concrete and the extremmost portion of the reinforcement. So the distance between the extremmost portion or the outermost portion of the reinforcement to the extremmost portion of the concrete over here is called as the clear cover. Now there is a very important term for structural engineers, and that is the effective cover. For most of the things we are going to define effective cover. Now what is the effective cover? Effective cover is the distance from here, that is the outermost portion of the concrete which is touching the formwork when the concrete is being laid. So this portion to the center or the centroid of the reinforcement. Whatever reinforcement is provided, the centroid of this reinforcement is taken, and the distance from here, that is the outermost portion of the concrete, to the centroid of the reinforcement, to the centroid of the reinforcement. Whatever reinforcement is provided, to the centroid of that. So from the centroid to the bottommost portion, if the bottommost portion is in tension, whatever the extremmost portion in that direction, it is called as the effective cover. Please note that throughout this subject we are going to term the effective cover as D dash. We will be using the term D dash for effective cover, and for most of our calculations the term effective cover is going to be referred to. It is very important term for us. Now what are the different types of cover blocks available in the country? The different types of cover blocks available are here, and plus more are available. Observe one thing over here. When we see the cover blocks, there is 25 written over here, 20 written here. So numbers are written. So a bar which will be placed over here, the bar which will be sitting on this particular portion, would be giving me a cover of 25 mm. A bar which will be sitting in this particular place has 20 number over here, so it would be giving me the cover of 20 mm. So anytime the structural engineer defines that the cover is 20 mm, we can use a cover block like this, and the bar has to be placed within this. Can you see the ones over here down? The bar has been placed in this direction. So depending upon the size of the cover whichever has been prescribed, depending upon the size which has been prescribed, the bar will be placed. Can you see the hole in the cover block? This hole is to pass the binding wire and tie the reinforcement, so that both remain in place together and the cover block does not topple. From the Astra company over here, 50 mm in this direction, from here to down it is 50 mm. It can be used in the other direction also. There would be some size of this given in the other direction written over here, like the way it is written over here on top, it is given as 50 mm or 2 inches. Similarly in the other direction also, over here it would be mentioned what is the size from top to down. So whenever the cover is required to be 50 mm, it is going to be placed over here. Now these are mortar blocks, cement mortar blocks. Now over here are some examples of PVC blocks which are available. Now over here also, this distance from here, center of this to outermost portion is 75 mm. So depending upon how much is required, we would be using a different type of cover blocks. Now these are thin ones, and the reinforcement passes through this. It passes through this easily, and then the reinforcement is tied over here so that the reinforcement does not slip up. It also can be done that the reinforcement is there sitting over here and this portion is projecting upwards. In that case, the chances of slipping is very less. Here it shows the different types of cover blocks available. Here in the last one, we have the PVC type, the other PVC type. So you can have the placement of the reinforcement in this direction or in this direction. So different types of cover blocks which are available and which can be used. Now, how much should be the cover provided? A structural engineer has to first decide for a particular member how much cover has to be provided. Now that shows the foundation portion, and in the foundation portion the cover blocks are provided like this. It takes care of the reinforcement in this direction as well as reinforcement in this direction. If you see over here, cover blocks are provided at a particular spacing so that everything remains in place and the amount of concrete which we need below the reinforcement is the same, that is maintained everywhere. Now look at the clauses. The cover is guided by two clauses as we have discussed earlier. The cover is guided by the durability and cover is also guided by the fire resistance. Now as far as the durability is concerned, we have seen in durability condition, we have seen different levels of exposure. So depending upon different levels of exposure, the amount of cover would be provided. Before coming to that, let us look at the clause 26.4.2 in the code. The clause 26.4.2 states that the minimum values for the nominal cover of normal weight aggregate concrete should be provided to all reinforcement, and this should be based on the exposure conditions. You will be remembering the exposure conditions which we have discussed earlier, that is mild, moderate, severe, very severe, extreme. So depending upon that, depending upon the type of exposure condition, the covers, how much should be provided to the members, have been compiled and given to us in table 16 of IS 456. It also further in the same clause, subclause tells us, however, for a longitudinal reinforcing bar, that is longitudinal reinforcement, in column, nominal cover shall not be less than 40 mm. It will never be less than 40 mm or diameter of such bar. Whatever is the diameter or whatever is or 40 mm, the cover provided cannot be less than 40 mm or cannot be less than the diameter. Suppose the diameter provided in a column exceeds 40 mm, say it is 50 mm. In that case, cover provided should be minimum 50 mm. It cannot be 40, it cannot be less than that. So in a column, it all depends upon the reinforcing bar diameter, and minimum provided should be 40 mm. Now over here also there is a relaxation given. In case the columns have a minimum dimension of 200 mm or less, if the columns of minimum dimension of 200 or less and whose bars are 12 mm, they don't exceed 12 mm, then over here a provision of 25 mm is enough. So if at all we have columns of 200 mm as the dimension and the bars are 12 mm itself, then 25 mm can be provided as the cover. Please note, the clause is very clear as far as footings is concerned. For footings, minimum cover shall be 50 mm. For footings, minimum cover shall be 50 mm. Look at it. The durability condition says that Depending upon the different exposure levels, we are going to provide the cover. At the same time, for columns, there are separate provisions given. Footings, there are separate provisions given. Now look at the table 16, which I was just talking about from durability requirements. There are 5 levels, exposure levels, that is mild, moderate, severe, very severe, extreme. We have already discussed this before. Now over here it says nominal concrete cover in mm shall never be less than, in case it is mild, 20 mm is enough. Now severe becomes 45, very severe becomes 50. So whenever we are designing structures in very severe condition, we need to take the nominal cover for the concrete as minimum 50 mm. 50 mm is compulsory. At the same time, now this is regarding durability, regarding the salinity in the environment, regarding the soil content in the environment, which could be leading to corrosion in the bars. To protect that, these have been given. At the same time, we have to refer table 16a. Please note both of these go hand in hand. In 16a, the cover provision has to be based on how much time we are giving to the last occupant on the last floor, the last person, to move out to safety in case of fire. In case there is fire, the last person to move out, how much time do we give that person? So based on that also, the Indian Standard Code defines the cover. Now over here the Indian Standard Code is very clear. It gives you the provision for beams separately, slabs separately, continuous beams, columns, all these are given separately. Now let me just explain this table. Fire resistance in hours. Let us take an example of 2 hours. This fire resistance, if we are looking at 2 hours, minimum 2 hours is necessary. I have to give 2 hours minimum for the last occupant to run out to safety. Then whenever we are designing beams which are simply supported, the cover required is 40 mm minimum. Minimum nominal cover, clear cover has to be 40 mm. If I plan that the last person can be taken out safely within 2 hours. Suppose let us just consider an example that it's a theater. It's a multi-story theater. The last person on the last floor, we can imagine, we can assume that he will be taking the longest time to come out. So as a designer, I decide how much time is needed for that last person to move out, because the other persons are also moving out. So considering that, suppose it is 2 hours, then the simply supported beams will have to have a clear cover of 40. If it is a continuous beam, clear cover of 30 mm. In case of slabs, it is given as 35 mm. And similarly, look at columns. Columns are all 40. Columns are primary members. The main members, they have been given cover of 40. We have to give minimum cover of 40 to the columns. So these are the provisions. So depending upon how many hours we are going to design it for, we are going to take the cover to the structural member. So now we know that we have the structural members, something like beams, slabs, columns, and we know how much cover has to be clearly provided. The clear cover to the reinforcement has to be provided. Now what about the width of the structure? The structural members such as beam, slab, column. What about the width? When the fire occurs, what would happen? Can I have a slender member? Obviously, if I have a very slender member, that will undergo deterioration faster because of fire. So the code talks of that also. From the durability, it has given us the cover. From fire resistance also it is given the cover. But over here, from the fire resistance point of view, it gives us the minimum width also. How much should be the minimum width of the member? So depending upon the fire resistance, suppose fire resistance I want 2 hours for that last person to come out to safety, then for the beam, minimum width has to be 200 mm. Minimum width has been defined. Similarly, in slabs, the minimum width, the minimum thickness has been defined as 125. So similarly, for different members, the things have been defined over here. So minimum widths have been defined based on the fire resistance. So minimum width is there and the cover is there. So we need to take this into consideration when we are designing a particular structural member. Now there is another term called as the overall depth. Now these are the terms which we are going to use for the beams. We are going to look at the beams. Now when we are looking at the beam, the first term is the overall depth. Now what is the overall depth? Now if that's the beam which I see in the picture, I understand the overall depth is the distance from the bottommost portion over here to the topmost portion over here. The extrememost fiber in compression to extrememost fiber in tension. Let me consider that this is a simply supported beam having tension at the bottom. So if this is a simply supported beam having tension at the bottom, the compression at the top, so that the distance from the topmost fiber to the bottommost fiber over here, from outermost to outermost over here, the vertical straight distance is called as the overall depth. For everything in this particular subject, we will be referring to this as capital D. It will be termed upon as capital D. Now there is another term which is very important to us, is the effective depth. Now the depth of the beam from the extrememost fiber in compression to the centroid of this, to the centroid of the reinforcement. Now in this case, since all the bar diameters appear to be of the same, are equal, appear to be equal and in one layer, so the centroid would be exactly at the midpoint of this. So from the midpoint over here to the topmost portion over here would be my effective depth. So the effective depth is the distance from the extrememost compression fiber to the centroid of the beam. Extrememost to the centroid of the beam. So that is my effective depth. Now let us work on an example. Now the example goes something like this. A RCC beam, a reinforced concrete beam of overall cross section 300 mm by 500 mm, has 3 bars of 12 mm diameter reinforced in the tension zone. Find the effective cover and the effective depth if the clear cover is 25 mm. Now over here, what all things have been given to us? Look at the sketch. The sketch on the right hand side makes it very clear. The overall dimension, the horizontal dimension of the beam, width of the beam is 300. The overall depth of the beam is 500, that is from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom is 500. It is having tension at the bottom, compression at the top. There are 3 bars over here placed symmetrically, 3 bars placed over here, 3 bars of 12 mm diameter, 3 numbers 12 diameter, and the clear cover over here is 25 mm. This is what has been given. What we have been asked is how much is this effective depth and how much is the effective cover. So we understand that if capital D is here, effective depth is here, the remaining portion, the balance portion over here is the effective cover. Given the clear cover is 25 mm, the overall depth capital D is 500 mm, the reinforcement diameter is 12 mm. So the effective cover D dash, that is effective cover from the centroid of this to the bottom, is clear cover, that is this portion, plus the diameter of the reinforcement divided by 2. Since it is one layer over here, all the diameters are same. It is clear cover plus diameter of reinforcement divided by 2. So D dash, that is the effective cover, is 25 mm plus the diameter is 12 divided by 2. So we have D dash is equal to 25 plus 6, which is 31 mm. So we get the effective cover over here as 31 mm. Now what is the effective depth? Obviously the effective depth is the capital D minus D dash over here. So D, small d, effective depth is equal to capital D minus D dash. So small d is equal to 500, that is the overall depth, minus 31 mm. So we get the effective depth as 469 mm. Look at the sketch over here. The effective depth from the topmost compression fiber to the centroid of the beam centroid of the reinforcement. The vertical straight length gives me the effective depth as 469 mm, and the effective cover, that is from the centroid of the reinforcement to the bottommost portion, as 31 mm. So that's the way we find the effective depth, we find the effective cover. So over here in this beam, having the width as 300 mm, the overall depth as 500 mm, we have calculated the effective depth to be 469 mm and the effective cover to be 31 mm.